garden-based reframe. What does that look like? Well, I'm going to tell you. Some of you have a garden-based reframe right in your house right now. Say what? Yes, for real, for real, for real. But before I take you there, let me take you to a day in the life of Dena Corbin in 1960 something, the summer of. After breakfast, very nutritious, I get up, I would go and look for an apple tree, a pear tree, a peach tree, a cherry tree to climb. But what I realized is if it was in the right season, that's all I had to do was shake that tree. Shake that tree and the fruit would come falling down and I could sit and eat and sit and eat. And then later that day, I would go back to my yard and pick dandelion greens and peppermint with my mom to put in our peppermint tea, our sun tea that we would make. And then later in the afternoon, my daddy would come pick me up in his Big Mac truck and we would go to the garden, row gardening. My dad taught me row gardening and we would have rows and rows and rows of food. And when we harvest, it was by the sack full and the barrel full. And we just had an abundance of food, an abundance of food. And this immersion into nature and gardening fuels the passion that I want to share with you today. So when we talk about the idea of reframing a garden, this is what I mean when I talk about reframing. It's looking at an old idea through a new lens, an old idea through a new lens, right? So reframing has many, many, many benefits. Gardening has many, many, many benefits. Connecting to nature has many, many, many benefits. The cognitive benefits, it allows for a visual for words sometimes that are difficult to understand for children. The physical, it allows people to get up and move around. The psychological and the emotional is a way for people to improve in their self-concepts, a sense of accomplishment, a sense of responsibility. The social part of it is key because it allows people to interact with each other for a common goal, a common result. And my favorite, dear and near to my heart, is the academic part of it, the academic part. I remember having to teach vocabulary words that for my students as a special needs teacher, for them to hold on to it and really understand it, they needed a visual. So something as simple as taking a container, putting soil in it, putting seed in it, watering it and putting it in just the right area for sun to reach it, opened up the idea or gave visual to words like sequencing or time order words or photosynthesis, and just writing about it and explaining the process allowed them to own those vocabulary words and allowed them to own those vocabulary words. So there are other ways to reframe, and some of you, like I said, are doing it already. Walking in the park, growing houseplants, sitting under a tree, growing carrot tops. Yes, growing carrot tops, beet tops, celery. Take your child's old boots and allow them to become containers for growing as opposed to going out and buying containers, right? So the surveys that I've talks about how people are getting more into growing. They're growing more and more food. They have access to fresh foods. They enjoy the idea of growing because it gives them a sense of accomplishment. More and more people are spending time outdoors, anywhere from 2 to 4 hours outdoors in 2020 as opposed to 2019, right? So the idea of gardening is taking a whole new spin for people. It's taking a whole new spin. More young people, and this is really, I found this to be really key, more young people are beginning to garden. More young people are gardening. So I want to give you some of my own experiences. My experiences of gardening, and I call it witnessing the pictures, where you see gardens of beautiful spaces and beautiful places, right? Growing spaces to make beautiful places. You have your community garden, which is an area beautiful. You can take a lot, beautify it. You have a community of people working for a common goal. You have interactions that may not otherwise take place. And then you have that intergenerational garden, which is beautiful. It's the bridging of two worlds coming together with conversation that may not otherwise take place. It's an idea, it's a way for older adults and even younger adults to be physically active, a great way to stay active and engaging in communication. Beautiful places in beautiful spaces. Even individuals who have spaces or small apartment spaces, and I'm going to show you toward the end how you can just grow carrot seeds, carrot tops, beet tops on a windowsill, herbs on a windowsill. And then you have a multicultural garden. This opens itself also for a community garden, a school garden with multicultural, a garden where you have different people on a job that come from different cultural backgrounds. Start a garden, start a rooftop garden, or if you have space in your area, start a garden, start a garden. And then you have these gardens that are just theme gardens that just reimagine what gardening looks like. Just reimagine that, right? So a theme garden, one of my favorites, I've been saying that a lot, but my favorite is native plants. I love native plants, a pollinator garden where you're attracting butterflies, hummingbirds, and other beneficial insects. And native plants are so easy to grow because they adapt to the environment in which you plant them in. So native plant gardening is beautiful. It's a wonderful opportunity to learn and grow. And then you have sensory gardens like sight, touch, taste, sound, right? So when you talk about sound, you think about gardens or plants that when the wind blows, the plant or the flower makes a certain sound. And then you have your taste garden where you can have your herbs and your vegetables. And then you have a smell garden, or a garden that goes along with your sense of smell, gardenias, right? Some herbs, spices in a garden. And then you have pizza garden, which is so easy to grow. Peppers, tomatoes, herbs. Here you go. Great salad, great pizza sauce, right? And then you have a color garden. What's your favorite color? Go out and buy plants or flowers that represent your favorite color. And then you have the literacy garden. If you're a reader and you read about a plant, go buy it, grow it. Then you have an herb garden, which is really, really easy because herbs like to grow in small spaces, so you can grow them on windowsills or sunny spots. And then think of this, a rainbow garden. Flowers of every color of the rainbow, every color of the rainbow. So these are theme gardens, gardens that you don't even think about. But this is the reframing of gardening, the idea. And when you think of reframing, think this. Think reuse, recycle, and reduce. Think experimentation. Think a place where gardening, creativity, and nature meet. Reuse, recycle. Look at this. This is a container. This was seasoning. You can make this into a greenhouse. And look, you don't even have to put holes in it. It has holes. What can you think about planting in here? You need a planter, or you need something to put soil in to grow seeds. Look at this. You need a watering can? No. Look at this. You can use a container like this for watering. Reframing gardening does not have to be costly. It doesn't have to be expensive. You don't need a lot of experience. Let me show you some things that I did when I talk about reframing. This is a beet seed. I like this because I keep it in my windowsill and I pinch off of it. I add it to my salad and it keeps growing and growing and growing. Now the experiment is going to be when I take it outside in the spring and put it in soil and see if it grows. Look at this. This is a carrot top. It's the carrot top I mentioned to you. And you take this outside and it grows. You can put this into it and it'll grow. And not only will it grow, it will attract, as it did last summer in my garden, black swallowtail butterflies. And that's what it did. And we went through the whole cycle. And the butterfly emerged and we let it go, right? This is just a little something I like to have on my windowsill. This is a spider plant. Another pretty little plant that I like, gardenings. Reimagine, reframing, gardening. And then if you choose to, you can buy seeds. You can buy the seeds. But think, when you buy seeds like this, seeds that flower, save the flowers. Save the flowers. Look, my grandchildren, they love watermelon. We're going to grow these watermelon seeds. We're going to grow these watermelon seeds this summer. And this, I want to share this story with you, my last story. I had a student one year who had a difficult time understanding what the word fragile meant. What the word fragile meant. This is an eggshell. So what we did, my brilliant aides and I, what we did was we took little pebbles, put in the bottom, added some soil, and put grass seeds in. Grass seeds grow very, very quickly. Now, it took him 3 tries, before he didn't crack it, because he was just a little rough guy, right? But he understood the idea of fragile. He owned that word. And he took this little eggshell and he planted it in his yard, and that was his little piece of space. So again, when you think of gardening, when you think of gardening reframe, think of reuse, reduce, recycle. Think of experimentation. Think of a place where gardening and creativity meet.